Have you ever wondered whether there were any games that put you in the role of the boys in blue? No matter if it was going for an arcade or simulation feel, you wanted to play on the side of the law and bust criminals. Crime Killer aims to fulfill that satisfaction, but unfortunately the enjoyment is washed away by poor design choices, lackluster visuals and monotonous gameplay. In the near future, fossil fuels have been depleted and criminal activity is on the rise due to the advances in technology, leaving government-controlled police departments at a disadvantage. However, the Unreal Consortium Corporation invests into all police departments by giving them new weapons to match the criminals. You play from the perspective of Officer 88, who had his father killed in a hit-and-run incident. Designed to follow his dad's shoes, it's your task as Officer 88 to bring these crooks to justice. Crime Killer initially starts off innocent enough for the first 2 stages, as you learn the controls to get used to the game. However, by the time you reach the 3rd level, this game goes downhill very quickly due to the lack of variety and how unbalanced it is. While some enemies may need to be pacified and others destroyed, it boils down to shooting them, as you'll be doing this throughout the entire game. Furthermore, some foes can withstand so many hits, making your primary firepower too weak, and it doesn't help that some foes can do an insane amount of damage with laser point accuracy. Granted, there are ammo pickups which do pack a punch if you're lucky enough to get a successful volley off, but due to how fast the opposition move, this becomes frustrating, as precise accuracy is almost near impossible because of how oversensitive the controls are. Crime Killer does support analog controls for analog steering and shooting, but this ironically amplifies this issue even more. There are 3 vehicles you can drive: a patrol car, a motorbike and a prototype wing. Other than being visually different from one another, the handling is exactly the same across the board. Moreover, the damage output is supposed to improve as you progress, but I didn't notice any changes as far as firepower was concerned, especially when you factor in how unbalanced it is. Not only because the enemies are bullet sponges, but some have been programmed to be incredibly agile, to the point where pursuing them conventionally is futile. And of course you're at the mercy of taking cheap hits. Although there are health pickups in each level when your machine is badly damaged, the map doesn't indicate where they are, thus forcing you to look for every nook and cranny. This can lead to breaking off pursuits temporarily to prolong your survival, only to re-engage shortly afterwards. In specific circumstances, you may have to use your scanner in order to detect criminal activity, while other times HQ will give you your next objective. However, the levels for the most part are far too long, as they can lead up to 30 minutes, meaning you'll be doing the same tasks over and over, and it gives the impression that the developers were trying to pad out the gameplay. It also doesn't help that your field of view is limited due to the short draw distance, which can lead to unintentional crashes, and it's made more frustrating when you've got limited time in order to disarm bombs. The prototype wing gets away with this somewhat since it's an airborne vehicle and can avoid traffic, but for the most part you'd be forced to lower your altitude to eliminate the opposition, as well as to disable the explosives as I just mentioned. With that being said, Crime Killer's biggest issue is there's no option to save your progress. Checkpoints are non-existent in all of the levels, so if you die, you have to restart the entire stage all over again. And to add insult to injury, if you decide to quit the game, it forces you to start right from the very beginning. The only way you can pick up where you left off is by using the password feature, which you earn codes by completing each stage, but the fact that save system wasn't considered during Crime Killer's development is baffling. Most games from the PlayStation's lifecycle have aged poorly both in graphics and controls, and this game is no exception. The vehicles are supposed to represent transport of the future, but nearly 2 decades on they look like they're made out of paper mache, which is funny since their CG counterparts look much better for their time. That's not could be said for the character models, as they look stiff, not to mention the audio as far as the voice acting is concerned isn't great. To the game's credit, the frame rate is able to keep itself at 60 frames per second, which for its time was some achievement considering most games ran at 30. Finally, the soundtrack is serviceable and synergizes with the game's setting, but there weren't any tracks that stood out. The game I got came with a CD that contained 4 tracks from the game. However, since Crime Killer along with many PlayStation titles are able to be used for playback, whether it's on a CD player or through a computer, it makes the additional CD pointless since those tracks are featured on the game disc. In conclusion, Crime Killer is bad due to its repetitive gameplay, shoddy game design, awkward controls, and more importantly, a lack of a save feature. It looked like it had a good concept, but after playing it, it commits too many offences.